Good afternoon, welcome to the show. This is NAS in Focus on Classic FM 94.3 Abuja, the station that plays every song you know. You're on a Classic Lounge, and of course NAS in Focus is where we get to talk about issues relating to the National Assembly, whether it be laws or any other thing, concerned with the National Assembly. And we get to talk to a lawmaker to help us make sense of a lot of these issues. And today, our guest on the show is Senator Abba Moro. He's a senator representing Benue South Senatorial District. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so let's start first with this. I mean, it's some people will probably target a historic day. The appropriation bill has just been passed in a very, very short while. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, thank you very much. As you rightly have pointed out, the appropriation bill for 2020 has just been passed by the Senate, and we are very happy and we feel fulfilled because one of the legislative agendas of the 9th Senate was a reversion of the financial calendar year, the fiscal year, from what used to be in between the year, half year and all that, to January to December. And so, that promise was predicated on the determination of the Senate to pass the appropriation bill before the end of the year. And I'm happy that
has happened.
On the 5th of December 2019, the bill has been passed. The fine details will be put together, and very, very soon, possibly before the end of the year, it will be transmitted to the President for assent, and we would have met our target.
Fantastic. But let's also talk about the revision of the budget, because we're looking at the fact that the budget that the President presented was 10.33 trillion. The one passed by the Senate is 10.59 trillion. Already, we know that funding for even the 10.33 trillion was, going to be a bit steep because we had deficits, and we've already also been told by the Finance Minister that we have a revenue problem. Does it worry you about how it will be funded, considering now that it is now 10.59 as well?
Well, budget bills estimates of expectations, and this one is not an exception. I want to believe that we will all work towards meeting our targets. And like the Senate President has said today, which is the thought of every senator, we will make sure that we raise the necessary revenue to implement the budget. We will intensify our oversight functions, plug all leakages, ensure that our finances come in as they should come from all sectors. And our expectation is that we may even raise revenue more than we expect, more than the budget has provided for. But that is being on the very high optimistic side. But the point is that if you don't estimate within your expectation, the inspiration to work towards it will not be there. And so I believe that the federal government has the knife and has the yam. And the budget was put forward by the executive. My expectation is that they must have weighed in all the contradictions. They must have put into consideration the vagaries of economic movements, and they must have come to the conclusion that yes, they can fund this budget. Our duty as senators, especially senators of the opposition political party, is to be seen to cooperate with the executive, to give them all the instruments of support that they require to perform to the expectation of Nigerians. And this is exactly what we have done. That is not to say, quite frankly, that we also don't have thoughts of our own. At the level of debates, we have come up with our own ideas of how these things work, what will work and what will not work. But at the end of the day, like I said, it is the responsibility of the executive arm of government to implement the budget. And the budget that they have put forward to the National Assembly, the Senate has considered and passed for them. And so we expect that they will work towards ensuring that they meet the expectations of Nigerians.
I mean, as a member of the opposition, because I mean, I'm glad you brought that up. The finance bill, also was passed before now. There were a number of, controversies generated, especially because of the increase of the VAT. It's been passed too. There's really nothing anybody can do. But I just wanted to know what you thought about it. I mean, the executive did see it as a way to raise more funds, but we also know that we have depended a lot on oil to help us with this, and we know that the oil industry right now all over the world is very, very, very shaky. I mean, do you think that the finance bill, that was passed, the raising of the VAT, is one way to do this, even though there are Nigerians who had reservations about it?
Well, I agree with the executive that one way of raising fund is increasing VAT, but I disagree with them of raising the VAT at this critical moment in the fragile economy that we're operating now. And I want to tell you that up to tomorrow, I am against the raising of the VAT to 7.5. I made it very clear at the plenary that I was against it because I insisted, even with the VAT comparison that were brought from other countries, I did say then, and I want to repeat, these things, the payment of taxes and the rest of them, yes, can be very convenient for countries where the system works, because what the people pay, they can recoup doing other things where the economy and the system works. But here, it doesn't turn out that way. So comparing us with humongous percentages of VAT that are paid in other countries doesn't add up here, because our circumstances are not the same.
They're not the same.
And don't forget that we also have the serious problem of corruption eating up our funds. I do know that the present administration, like even the previous administration, is doing everything that it can to curb corruption, but it's still with us here. And so I believe that it will add up to the misery of the ordinary person to keep increasing taxes without a corresponding provision for infrastructural development, for employment, and then provision for the basic requirements of life. Because whether you like it or not, in the short term, yes, we can get the funds. But in the long run, the goods and services that you are taxing, that you are VATing, and the companies that you are taxing and you are VATing, all of them will pass them down to the ordinary person, the consumer.
Absolutely.
And so, my take is a very simple one. Even at that, I am told that the Minister of Finance recently rolled out some guidelines on the implementation of that finance bill, and one of it is that as from January, if you don't have a tax PIN, you cannot operate your bank account.
Yes.
Again, that is going to create another level of problem for Nigerians to solve. Because if you can't operate your account, it adds to your misery, adds to your frustration and problems.
Is that something the Senate would look into,
Well, I think that if it becomes an official position of the Minister of Finance, and it becomes cumbersome and not convenient for the ordinary person, certainly the Senate will raise issues with it. I intend to raise issues with it.
Let's
because I think that before you begin to implement some aspects, no matter how attractive it is, we must sensitize the people and prepare the minds of the people and the soul of the people to welcome the development.
Let's talk about the debt issue of the country, right? Because the federal government, of course, just asked for leeway for another loan that has come to the Senate. We know that the debt level of the country has risen astronomically. Part of this budget will go towards debt servicing. Do you think that this is the way to go?
But I don't think so. Yes, countries borrow. There's no doubt about it. If it becomes necessary to borrow to service services for your people, yes. But when the debt burden becomes excruciating, when it becomes suffocating, when it becomes counterproductive, the good way to go is to stop borrowing and look inwards towards generating your own revenue. I think that this country, like I argued in the debate on the general principles of this budget or bill, I did say that a greater percentage of the problem of this country is not revenue availability. It's more of management of our revenue. Nigeria has more than 10 times the resources that other countries don't have, that are surviving, that are doing fantastically well. And so I think it is one of discipline. And so in addition to what the present administration is doing in trying to sort out the problems of economic leakages and generating more revenue, like closing the border that is not very comfortable but welcome because
you support that?
I don't support border closure. I was Minister of Interior in charge of the borders. And I know that it is usually very counterproductive when you close borders. The people suffer for it. The natives suffer. And so it becomes part of an anti-people policy to close the borders. I think that the thing to do is a panic decision to close borders. In the first place, no country is an island unto itself. And you cannot permanently live in an enclosure. You must get out there to the other people. No matter how powerful an economy is, you cannot sustain it. And so I believe that if smuggling is our problem, if the security threat that federal government is talking about is our problem, I want to believe that we should be able to plug and man effectively our borders. If America, for instance, can be thinking about building walls to stop people illegally entering the country and bringing in vices that the country doesn't want, if it becomes the ultimate, we can go that way. But to close the borders to our people, the business community is crying, agents are crying, your people that benefit from cross-border trades and businesses and transactions are crying they are out of jobs. Yet we are crying of lack of employment for our teeming youths. So I think that some of these things are not completely correct in the general term of it. So I was going to say that, look, what I expect this government to do, going in the direction that they are going now, trying to plug all the loopholes in our revenue leakages, I think that we should have the patience to go ahead and continue the way we are going to make sure that we get it right.
But the executive, they have touted a lot of progress that they made from closing the borders. They talked about less smuggling of petrol and the consumption rates of Nigeria. We have seen it at a really much lower level, than when the borders were open. They also talked about, the fact that these people, the neighboring countries, they have to obey some conventions. The ECOWAS convention does not stipulate, according to them, that you can just bring in any goods from any country, repackage them as yours, and send them to Nigeria. Even the former president, Bishop Obasanjo, had said that, these other countries, they have to come to the table, they have to agree to certain things, because what has been seen is that Nigeria has been used as a dumping ground. Even while he was president, said that was a problem that he was tackling as well. And so in some way, he supported the border closure. But you don't think it's the way to go?
Now, what about the borderless countries of Europe? There are continents that don't have borders at all. So, we're talking about circumstances that affect the lives of our people.
I mean,
so if you close your border,
yes.
Now, governance is not about revenue generation. The high point of the border closure is the generation of 5 billion, 8 billion naira a month.
They also talk about the risk of, bringing substandard goods that
yes.
could be.
So what are the organizations that are instruments for checking standard of goods doing? What are we paying them for? We have Standard Organization of Nigeria. We have other instruments, NAFDAC and the rest of them, to check all these qualities. What are they doing? What are they paying them for? What I'm saying is that we must develop the discipline and determination enough to check some of the ills that confront us as a nation. Okay, now, you have closed the borders. You have stepped down the smuggling that you are talking about. What steps have been taken since the closures to foreclose all those ills that when you reopen the border, they will not be here with us again?
Well, they say they're
What
talking
standards?
with other countries.
They are talking with the other countries, which you can do even when the borders are open.
They feel this will compel the countries to probably agree more.
Okay.
And a better hand of negotiation.
They didn't agree before. They agreed before. And in any case, what you don't know, or what we don't know yet, is the fact that it is not these governments that perpetrate these acts that we are complaining about. It's the business community.
So
They are our
asking
trading
the government
partners.
to checkmate their business community.
Yeah, so I think that we must have appropriate regulations to guide our relationship with other countries, and then we must have the instruments to enforce our desires. Like I said, in my time as Minister of Interior, we were able to identify 87 legitimate entry points into Nigeria on the lands. We were also able to identify 1,097 illegitimate routes into this country. Today, we have an immigration manpower that is less than half of the requirements of immigration to patrol just our borders. Today, I can tell you that in terms of logistics and equipment, that we don't have enough of such to run around our borders, legal or illegal. That is why you had a recent complaint that half of the borders in the north are still open and vulnerable.
Yes.
Understandably so, because the north is virtual desert area. Vast, open. Every place in the north, especially the northern fringes bordering other countries, are all routes. So you can understand. So if we don't have the instruments to control movements of goods and services and persons, no matter how many times that you close the borders, you still have the problem with you. So what we are doing here is not solving the problem.
You think it's
We're
a
trying to
short-term
control.
bomb,
It's a
basically.
short-term bomb. That's exactly what I mean. And even at that, a very, very short one at that. Because I can tell you, as I'm speaking to you now, that the consequences, the counterproductive consequences of our border closure on our people will be far greater than the solutions that we think we have
You don't
found.
think that the fact that a number of people are talking about having rice mills and things like that are enough, justifications for closing?
You are going to have rice mills after you have closed the borders to rice importation. So who bears the cost? So if we know that having more rice mills will solve our problem of rice importation,
You think we should?
what have we have been doing?
Okay.
That we have not set up the rice mills. So you now close the borders to rice importation. You don't have sufficient rice mills to produce sufficient rice for your people. Who is suffering?
Let's move on from that, sir, because of time, because we definitely can go on talking about this, for a very long time. You just proposed a North Central, Commission bill as well. We have enough. The NDDC, of course, is the start of this. The Northeast is there. We have the Southwest introducing theirs as well, and the Northwest introducing theirs as well. And now you have introduced the North Central as well. At the end of the day, do you think that it's fair? Every region should have a commission, or you think it's a proliferation of these agencies?
Well, first of all, let me let you know that I introduced the North Central Development Commission bill not because other zones were having their own commissions and introducing their own commissions. I did that because of the peculiarity of the North Central people. I did that because even right from the time of campaigns, it's one of the desires of our people that we have a commission that will attend to peculiar problems of the North Central.
Well, what are those peculiar problems, sir?
The peculiar problems of herdsmen-farmer clash that has led a lot of devastation on our lands. We equally have natural disasters across the North Central states. they have had very debilitating impacts on our lives and our development. They have hindered our developments. Militia attacks every other day, communal clashes every other day, and these things compound the misery of our people. And so, if state governments are incapable of providing solutions of development to these problems, if state governments or international community donations are not enough to go around these communities, then of course the right way to go is to establish an agency, a commission that will specifically address these problems, where members will be able to attract contributions from donor countries and grants from donor countries and manage it effectively for the development. As I'm talking to you now, more than 80% of the people of Agatu are displaced. All the communities, houses, and the rest of them in Agatu are in virtual ruins. And to compound our problem, only recently, flood overtook the Agatu community. So natural elements are against the Agatu community, communal clashes, and militia attacks, and herdsmen farmer clashes become a recurring decimal in the lives of the Agatu people, to mention but a few. In my community, Edmoga, where I come from, in 2018, 22 persons were killed in Fulani herdsmen clash, and virtually the whole village of Omusu was devastated, burnt to ashes. I was there myself. And government has to provide money for the burial of those persons. About 5 or 6 others injured with degrees of injuries. You can count other communities in Benue State where these things occur. If you go to Benue, as you're traveling from Abuja to Benue, you find displaced persons all over the place in Benue. Whether it is Guma local government, or Buruku local government, or Kwande local government, or Shungu, or Kum local government, or Logo, or Vandikia, all of them. And that is how it is in Plateau State. And that is how it is in Kogi State. Kwara has very little impact of this. It happens in FCT here. So, we are surrounded with a lot of disasters, natural and man-made. And I think that the best thing to do is to get a body that will specifically be charged with the responsibility of creating activities that will ameliorate the conditions.
Address the situation. Because I was going to ask you about funding, but you were talking about donors and all of that. So basically, that's the major source of funding.
Yeah, we expect that the federal government should make contributions to that fund on a periodic basis.
So right now, federal government doesn't look like they have enough resources.
Well, it doesn't. Well, we can't run away from ourselves. That is the essence of government. If a debt occurs, who pays? The federal government is responsible for the well-being of the people.
So basically, every region has, a commission pending if they don't have.
Well, every region. Well, I don't expect the Senate or the National Assembly to pass every request of every region for a commission. Commissions exist to address peculiar problems that are identifiable, that are definite. Like I said, I didn't just introduce the bill with others, my colleagues, Gabriel Susuan, OK Jeff, ID Gyang, and the rest of them. We didn't introduce that commission bill because others were doing it. We were doing it because we felt that our people have urgent need of attracting development to the place. We have an urgent need of getting our people back from displaced camps into their homes, ancestral homes. And this they cannot do on their own within the period that we are talking here. And so we need legislative intervention. And the only way to do it is to create this body that is charged solely for addressing this problem. And that's what we're doing. And we are going to make sure that we attract all the resources that we can. to develop this commission.
Okay, a couple more questions if I let you go, sir, because I do know that time is very, very fast spent. Let's talk about, the Internet Falsehood and Manipulation Bill, popularly christened the Anti-Social Media Bill. You were one of the people who supported this,
I supported it.
Well, at the debates.
Yes.
You said that Nigeria does require something like this because of all the falsehood that goes on the internet. I want to know why you think that the best way to address it is the social media bill, and if you share the concerns of a lot of Nigerians about this being a sort of way to gag the freedom of speech.
Well, let me say this. I didn't introduce the bill. There are two bills.
Yeah, I want to talk about this first. We'll get to the hate commission.
We must get them very clear. We'll talk about them together because they are all social media bills and the rest of them.
Okay.
There are two bills here. We have the hate speech bill. We have the
Internet Falsehood and Manipulation Bill.
Bill for protection against falsehood and internet manipulation.
Yeah.
Those are two bills. The one that has been up for debate yet is the falsehood and internet manipulation bill.
Yes, sir.
That's the one that is on the front burner of discussion now. Of course, the hate speech bill, which has passed through a first reading, also is attracting comment from Nigerians.
I want us to address the internet falsehood first. We'll get to the hate speech bill afterwards.
I have been a victim. Every day, people peddle rumors. People peddle falsehoods. People manufacture crimes and criminality and place it on individuals deliberately. And of course, the internet, the Facebook, the email has been so manipulated that people hack into people's accounts and cut away huge sums of money. People use people's email accounts. As I'm talking to you now, over 20 email accounts have been opened in my name without my knowledge, without my authorization. I've written to Facebook on it. I have reported more than 3 times to the Inspector General of Police on this. As I'm talking to you now, I've had my account hacked into and thousands of naira taken from my account. The dangerous aspect that they have devolved into now is using my account, using my picture falsely to ask people to pay monies into other people's accounts. Very poor people, vulnerable people. I know of a lady that had asked for school fees or something, that I had given her money to go and pay her school fees, and then they asked her to pay money into somebody's account because they wanted to assist her to get this, and using my name. She paid him. She told the person that, Oga, you know that I didn't have money. So, but if it is something that I must do for you now, I will do it. I have only 10,000 naira. She went and paid 10,000 naira into the person's account. The only money that she had. Because the person said that it was me and I was in a meeting, and that as soon as I came out of the meeting, I was going to send the money back. Another student in the University of Abuja here from my state bought the charge card of 4,000 or so 2 times to send to somebody who claimed to be me, using my Facebook account that he opened for me, using it. A student, because I was in a meeting, I needed my credit is finished, I needed this, and if you have money, quickly, run quickly and go and buy the charge card into my phone for me. So dangerous this thing has done to. So when this bill came, intended to regulate and make these service providers account for this action, I supported it. Because on the 2 ramifications, on 2 angles of the bill, I have been a victim. And I know lesser human beings today who also have fallen victims.
And suffer.
But since our debates And our contributions, I have received volumes of entreaties from my constituents, from Nigerians. And I have decided to have a rethink about my position on the bill. Because I have come here to think, to act on behalf of my people. And if they think that certain directions and thoughts and ideas that I'm expressing on their behalf is not in their interest, I know that they have collectively given me their mandate to think and act for them. But if they say, we don't want this, I definitely will have a rethink.
So
because it's their position that I express here. So I have decided, and I've informed the key stakeholders in my place, that we're going to have a town hall during the Yuletide break.
To address.
I'm going to address the issue. I'm going to tell them why I took the position that I took. I want to hear from them what they think about it, because a greater portion of the agitation against the bill is the imagination of the critics that this is not the real intention. But of course, we're all human beings. Everybody has a right. I'm entitled to. But basically, I represent my people, and whatever they want me to do is what I will do.
Absolutely, sir. That sounds really gracious. But I wanted to ask this. You were talking about the people who had been deceived, using your name. There are laws that do protect people from that already. When you talk about whether it's the libel laws or the Cybercrime Act, those are...
Okay, so if there are laws and you think that these things are actually crimes and there are laws, what is the fear of additional law?
Well, because there are parts of this bill, which talks about, being able to shut down the internet. I do not know if you saw that clause, sir.
Yes, without a law, can't you shut down the internet?
And there is also another law, another part of the bill that talks about if you undermine the work of government. Basically, it is so vague it can be interpreted as saying if you criticize government.
No. That is not where the problem is, because it's people who are talking about the law without looking at the law.
But those are parts
I can give you just a moment. How can anybody say that if you criticize government, there is no way that a responsible Senate will pass a law that will say if you criticize government, because even right there or the plenary, we criticize government.
But you're protected, because whatever you say in plenary,
Whatever I say in plenary,
yes,
okay, goes. But what am I in plenary now? Am I in plenary now? Have I not criticized government policies?
Well, that bill is not in effect yet.
Excuse me. Don't worry. If it is in effect, if I criticize government, they will come and arrest me. I can tell you that portion that you are talking about now is from the pigment of the imagination of people. It's not there.
Maybe if it is less
it's
vague,
not there.
It would not.
If it is less vague, that is why it is subjected. Listen, that is why bills are subjected to first readings, they are subjected to second readings, and they are subjected to third reading. And the third reading also involves
public
hearing where everybody will be allowed to come and make contribution. Okay? Now, even part of the criticism has come from PDP members, has come from members of the public, where they say that the APC used hate speech to enthrone this present government, to dethrone the last government. That also implies that they know that hate speeches are bad. If it can be used to remove government. So because they removed PDP as a member from government using hate speech, and I'm a member of PDP, I must allow hate speech to continue so that we can also use it to remove an APC government, so government and Nigeria will be going in circles. That is not correct. Two wrongs don't make a right.
Huh.
So if the same people that used hate speech to remove a government, to come to power, now turn around to say, look, let's regulate hate speeches and the rest of them, I think that it is good for this country, because it means that people created one problem, they now want to solve that problem, and tomorrow will not have that problem again. But like I said, if people get a government that they desire and deserve. So if it were my farm or my factory, I take a decision on what I want to do with it. But here I am, a representative of the people. I can pretend to be in charge of the collective wisdom of my people. But if they speak out, I must listen.
So you definitely will address this during the real estate.
Definitely.
Let's talk about the hate speech bill then. What do you stand on that? That is just first reading. It hasn't come in second reading yet. What do you stand on that?
Unfortunately, I think certain aspects. I have not actually read the hate speech bill because it has not come to the stage where we will digest and comprehensively listen. But I'm not an apostle of capital punishment.
I mean, the senator has said that
no
will
matter
be taken out
the
of
gravity of the offense, I think every person makes mistakes. We must find a way of correcting the mistakes of individuals and human beings. We don't give life, so I don't believe that we must take life. So, again, this is democracy. This is democracy. So everybody can talk. But I think that we must reason together to arrive at the solution or solutions to our problem. So a bill has been introduced. Yes, there is a very fundamentally objectionable aspect of the bill, death penalty. And Nigerians are saying it's in the extreme. And you can see, as a sensitive institution, the senator has come to say, we will expunge it. But he knows that he has put it in the Senate already, so he cannot expunge it. It's the Senate that will expunge it.
That has to expunge it now.
And so, if in the collective wisdom of the Senate, of the Ninth Senate, that these things, because of the clamor of Nigerians, it doesn't have to go, it will definitely not go. And I can assure you that a majority of the 109 senators that are in the Senate of the Ninth Assembly are responsible Nigerians, very sensitive to the aspirations of Nigerians, and when issues come up, not necessarily the hate speech, any other issue, we'll look at them very objectively as they affect Nigerians, and definitely the welfare and the well-being of majority of Nigerians will override any other consideration.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time. It has been very, very interesting talking to you. I wish you had more time, but hopefully next time we can have you for a longer period of time and address other issues that we definitely cannot talk about right now because of time.
Yeah.